26th, 9 a.m. This is the Blue Ribbon Committee on the middle school. We have quorum. Nancy is excused, and John is on his way. So I call the meeting to order. And first on our list is approval of minutes. We have no minutes today, so we'll pass over that. Next is John's school report. I think that really we could just open it to discussions. General discussion, you all agree?
Yes.
Agreed. And of course, we had our meeting last night. The commission approved the continuation of our committee until, is it July 30th?
Yes.
Yeah.
July 30th.
And to sum it all up, really the concern is financial by a few of the commissioners. How are we gonna pay for it?
Right.
And what grants are available? And so with that, Commissioner Loring, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Is the audit completed?
The audit, the last fiscal year?
Yes.
It's supposed to be close. We should be getting it at our next meeting, I think. Do you know, have we found
It's
this?
close, very close. Should be.
They were writing, the last I heard, they were writing the management letter and the response. So that's usually, that's like the last, or next to last step to getting it. So I'm hoping that we'll have it next month, around the 13th of, is that when we ever meet?
Yes.
Yeah, 13th.
And with that, so that means that all 80 plus questions have been researched and answered.
Yes,
And so they will be responding to them
yes.
in the management letter. Were there any other concerns that any of us picked up last time?
I mean, to me, it seemed like that was the biggest sticking point. And then, of course, our ability to negotiate with the school district and kind of, this limbo now that we're in. It's I don't know what we're supposed to figure out how to pay for when we don't know what we're gonna pay. And also, I guess it's the operation costs is what we need to figure out. But I don't know. I'm not sure what it would satisfy the two, other commissioners that have an issue.
Well, I think clearly operational costs, and they're short-term and long-term. Obviously the other component is the capital that's needed to renovate, getting it ready. But you bring up a good point, is because the other issue, of course, are grants. And I suppose we can explore grants, but without further agreement, we certainly can't apply,
And I think
in my view.
one thing that we need to focus on is if June is the deadline for historic preservation grants from the state, as Rick mentioned. And I think that we might want to focus on putting together a grant application for a special category grant which are the big ones, that can be up to $1 million. We need to do a match of a quarter of it, but we can use the land as a part of that match, is what Charles explained to me. So I'm sure Rick may be able to give us more advice on that, but I mean, it seems to me that if we could at least prepare that and have it ready for, the city commission would have to approve it, but if we could do the work and try and get that together, that's $1 million. And apparently, we don't have to actually own the property, we can get a letter from the owner saying that we can apply it, on their behalf. I'm not sure how that works, but, so we don't have to own the property to apply for the grants. I just think we need to research that more. Obviously June is the deadline, we're still gonna be around in June, so that we could work on that. And then we just need to drill down on some of those other costs. I've asked several times for our finance director, to try and put together a package and some numbers for what it costs to run City Hall here, so we can kind of compare. I still have not gotten any information back, and I'm not sure why. But there's obviously money, it's obviously costs money to run this building. And, it would cost money to run the building down there. But that building is also, if we were to move down there, the one building that City Hall would go in was built in 2000 or 1999. This building was built in 1950. There's obviously change differences in the construction of the building that makes it a lot more efficient in my mind. It seemed it'd be a lot cheaper. But, that would, if we get those numbers, that would make it a lot easier to compare.
Are they not in the financials?
They're not really broken down like that in the financials that we get, and it has, usually they break it down and spread it across the departments, with the different cost centers. So it's really hard to kind of get an idea. It's like, I don't know where the power bill comes out of. So I think it's all maybe clumped together. So I'd have to look at it and see. But it's not easily or readily available.
It's not standing out.
Yeah, it doesn't really, yeah.
So, they have to be pulled together.
Right.
Okay.
But I'll ask him again, how much, is Michael here?
That's good.
He's here, he's on a meeting.
Welcome, John.
Sorry I'm late,
Not at all.
but I'm here.
Well, and, we all want to congratulate you on an extraordinary job last night.
Well,
You made us very proud.
didn't go exactly as I planned, but it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
It could have been, and it wasn't.
Yes.
And of course, the good news is that we have life beyond the end of the month,
Yes,
till, early July, which is fortunate. And also, of course, we were just discussing, the main issue is financial.
yes.
So, operating costs, conversion costs, and grants.
Well, we'll know what those costs are soon, like in April, when RAG gets their report. To me, I think we need to come up with, I don't know, like a business plan that lays out all of that, how we're gonna raise the money. But I think another leg of what we need to do is to educate the public. Give them ownership. We need to have meetings and ask them, as the public, what would you like to see done with this building? I think that's really important. Go to the Palaca Council, the Pomona Council, to various places and tell our story. It's a story of the cultural center that will be so important to this this part of the county.
It certainly will.
I feel like the school district, they need to transfer it to us. And we need the property.
Just so I understand, everything that happened last night, I know that the BRC got a new lease on life through July, which I suppose is 4 months after.
Yeah.
But that's all of that. Your suggestion that the city approve, at least in concept, the spirit of that unfinished contract did not meet a motion. There was no motion made to approve that.
That's true.
So as it stands, the contract that you proposed, that you presented on behalf of the committee was not endorsed by the city commission.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss something, although I was at the edge of my seat for most of that meeting. All we succeeded in doing was getting an extension on the Blue Ribbon Committee.
That contract needs to be explained better so that the city understands it.
Well, I don't know how many times I heard you say that the city is not making a financial commitment. They're just simply approving a contract to receive a property for free as a gift from the Putnam County School District.
And it really was a starting point as far as being able to talk to the school district. And,
Correct.
one of the reasons we wanted them to vote on something so that we could go forward and talk to the school district. Because right now, the school district has no idea what we want, and
And we're not allowed to talk to them.
right, which I mean, we weren't going to be negotiating with them anyway, we never have. This has always been information gathering.
But this goes to the bigger issue of how are we supposed to come up with a financial prospectus in detail to the satisfaction of at least two hardcore commissioners who are not willing to let us talk with prospective partners, because the entire funding argument is based on an interagency partnership.
Right.
So that puts us in a position of strict fact finding where the most we can hope to do is propose hypotheticals
Right.
to potential partners and say, if we formed a partnership, would you possibly be willing to throw in with us? And what would you want to get out of this partnership? But is that a negotiation or is that a fact-finding conversation?
Yes, I mean, that's the argument there. I fear that even if we came up with some sort of funding mechanisms, it's not gonna be good enough to cover it all. And that's where, so they're trying to keep the legs out from under us.
Mhm.
But I've never seen this room as full as it was last night, ever. And I don't think it ever has been.
The public could not be more supportive.
Right, and then, when the mayor asked, how many of your taxpayers? And almost the whole room was standing up, because they were. I mean, I think they were trying to point out that it was out-of-towners that wanted this. No, but it's not. It's people here in town.
Well, and to that point, some who didn't stand were renters.
Mhm.
And of course, their rent supports taxes,
Right,
property taxes.
And as one gentleman stated, we all vote.
yes.
Yes,
Let me throw out a couple of points here. I think one of the problems last night was the word contract.
Yeah.
Being in business, you sign a contract, that's binding. I think this next step should be more considered as an agreement between us and the school board and bring it back to the city. I think the word contract was the sticking point.
I think you make a good.
The other thing I'd like to mention is I can't remember the figures, but we did a comparison between the cost to operate this facility and the cost to operate that one. What we need to look at is what is the difference that basically we need to come up with. If it costs $100,000 a year to operate that facility and it costs $65,000 a year to operate this facility, we're $35,000 short.
But we're more than halfway there.
I'm just throwing random figures out there. But that's what we're looking at is the difference between the two facilities to operate, not the entire amount.
Yes, correct.
I made the argument last night that according to the figures we had been shown, preliminary figures of this committee, that we were approximately halfway to covering the nut on that
So
facility.
I think that's what Charles was talking about, was the amount we're paying to operate this facility. We can come up with the difference.
Well, and that's certainly, that is fact finding, that comes under the definition of fact finding.
But I think the sticking point on the commission last night, especially with the mayor, was the word contract.
It's certainly, yeah, that's where it's certainly,
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
You know, when we come up with a business plan, like you say, it'll be a suggestion. It won't be anything that we can put in place because they're restricting us. But at least it will tell us what could happen. And I think we need to work on that. And we'll know pretty soon the money needed once RAG gives a report. But there are many sources of income that could be put in place.
Yeah.
And
well, and I'll work on getting us better numbers for this building. Looking at the financials, they do have, I found one line for electricity. And they budget $12,000 a year for this building for electricity. So a big chunk of it is insurance. That's like, when we had to look at the costs of the school, what the school districts paid, like $25,000 or 30 something of it is insurance. That's the only thing that's gonna be hard to figure out, because I know we have one policy for our liability insurance and auto, and it's all thrown in there together, and they don't really break it down by building. So like, it covers this property, the annex, the old city hall, and all the water plant, all of that together. And also, I believe that that's the way it is for the school district. I mean, that number that they put in there, I'm not sure. We kind of think that might just be allocated, they have one big policy in each building, they don't really break it down by building, but I can work on trying to get better clarity on that. Because I mean, for auto property liability insurance, we pay $39,000, or we had budgeted $39,000, and that's just in the city hall department. We break that up over all the departments. So I think our property liability is somewhere in the hundreds, 100-something thousand. And that's, so I can try and get some clarity on that and see if we can break that down, because obviously that's a big chunk of it.
It should be broken down in the insurance policy itself.
I mean,
Often, with multiple structures, they look at the square footage and usage.
Yeah.
And they identify each building and its use, and that's how it's calculated. I have not seen the city's
Yeah,
policy, but
the last thing that I saw was our projected cost for this year, and it was all just one number, but I can talk to the finance director and see if we can get that broken down.
And that's just insurance.
Yeah, that's just insurance, but that's almost the biggest expense is the insurance. Because the main power and then the water. I'll work on getting some more numbers so that we can see. Because I mean, really, to me, it seems like we really don't have that much farther to go as far as making up that difference. We'll just have to get some better data. Because I mean, we did have the 3 years that they gave us, that we put in the book, in the binder, for the cost for them to run the facility. But like, before asking, I didn't know that, that's, some of it was when it wasn't when it was occupied and then when it wasn't occupied. I mean, I wish we could get some more years back so we could see, because it'd be easy, a better picture of what's going on there.
Part of the problem there too is it depends on what we do with it.
Yeah.
I mean, how occupied is it? Do we have to heat a gymnasium?
Right.
12 months out of the year?
Yeah.
Or not? The figure that we brought up by Judy West last night,
I don't know where that came
I
from.
don't know where that came from either. She mentioned $180,000 a year just in electricity.
Yeah, and I don't,
I've
that's,
never heard that before.
I don't know. Do you know where she got the number from? The $180,000 that Judy talked about?
I don't know where she got that.
I mean, I was,
I know in talking with her, it was roughly 75, 80, 85,000.
right, that's the numbers that we
I don't
had.
know where she added the 100, and
Yeah.
she doesn't now after I talked to her about it. She came up and told the commission that she had made a mistake
Yeah.
after the meeting, that didn't help.
That explains the look on the mayor's face when I said that the city was halfway
Yeah,
to covering the expenses. She was stunned.
Yeah.
And she wanted to debate it with me, but I don't think she wanted to engage in dialogue at that point. So we absolutely need something a little more accurate.
Yeah.
Than we got.
and I think that would bring us, give us a better picture. I mean, I feel like I can get some more data. I feel like I kind of failed on that front, so I will work on that. And, I mean, I have requested 2 different times from our finance director. I don't know if someone's getting in my way of getting that information or what, but
Then that's not your fault, Commissioner.
yeah, but I mean, I work on it.
Well, does it need to come from the chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee, then a letter to the city finance director
I mean, that would help, I guess, or that could help.
with a deadline?
Yeah.
I suggest,
It's, Steve Conklin.
because we've been given enough restrictions, we can't afford to have any hurdles imposed on us by others.
And yeah, if Dan, and if you want to request some more information about the property insurance, and maybe a break if he can find out if it's broken down by building.
I'll ask for the detailed policies.
Yeah, complete cost to run the city's public buildings.
There's a big difference in a building that's occupied by several hundred students
Mhm.
and occupied by the staff of.
Mhm.
And I don't know how the school district gets their insurance. I know what, for us, as part of the Florida League of Cities, we have the Florida Municipal Insurance Trust, which is like a self-insured, for all the cities together. So we get our policies through that, and that's much better than going on the commercial market. It's kind of, but they run it as a business, the League of Cities does. So I mean, they obviously have to make money or cover their costs, but it's not a profit, a profitable enterprise that they try to make profit off.
Yeah,
You make an excellent point. The rates are much larger because it is a large group.
Yes,
It's a large volume of their insurance.
right.
So it's always the benefits.
Yeah, it's really one of the biggest benefits of being part of the League of Cities, besides all their lobbying and information, so it's something that we take advantage of.
Well, I'll put together a letter and get it out.
And I can give you his email address if you want to email it to him, and I would,
That would be terrific.
okay, and I'd also suggest CCing the city manager.
I'm concerned about the safety of the building.
Yes,
In the meantime, seems to me that one of the commissioners could say something to the sheriff's department.
I've unofficially, talked to Captain Ussery and asked him if he could make sure that someone goes through there, that an officer checks on it every shift, and he said that they are already doing that.
Okay.
And so that he will make sure that he said that they will continue to do that. They're worried about it as well.
Okay,
So-
well, that's good to know.
Yes.
That reassures me.
Yes. And I also mentioned it to the city manager and he agreed, so, that's going on currently, so it should be as safe as we can
You
get.
know, last night, Attorney Holmes said that the deficiencies could be cleared up. He thought fairly easily.
On the title.
Well, thought about that, you know, they would have to come before the city, almost all of them. I don't think the city would drag their feet, but I don't think they'd be enthused about pushing you along either. But let's just say all of them were cleared up. Who's gonna step up and wanna buy it?
When you talk about clearing up deficiencies, are you referring to the encumbrances for
Yeah.
education?
The only group that wanna buy it would be a charter school.
Right.
And the city knows how awful that would be, and the district knows how awful it would be, so it's a moot point. The district would like to transfer it to the city. I mean, that's obvious. The city needs it. We just, as a group, as the appointed task force, whatever you want to call it, we just need to keep pushing forward.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was taken aback last night, but I've regrouped today and we need to keep moving.
And I mean, I think the biggest thing, like Ron said, the word contract definitely scares the mayor. And, you know, it wasn't even a contract, it wasn't finished. It was not, we weren't signing it, we were approving the idea of it to go forward. And I think that was I should have said that, I should have tried to make that point. Because it wasn't a contract, it wasn't finished, it was basically a document.
Well, John, you did modify your argument to say, I would request that you approve this in concept, I think was your choice of word. And the commission failed to make a motion on it.
I think it says in the contract that it's at the discretion of the city when they accept it,
Yes,
Yes,
which is the same thing as saying when the money's in place, we'll accept it. Now, one lawyer look at it one way and another, but I think it's the same thing. So
but
I would like to.
the city is protected. Anyway, we need a good bullet point and explain it to the city.
It might just be a simple matter of wording instead of talking a contract on a memorandum of understanding. That's the language.
or letter of intent.
A letter of intent.
That's really.
The other point that Mr. Holmes objected to was the wording in the document, which required the PCSD to relinquish marketable title.
Yeah.
Immediately following the argument that the title's not marketable. If we just reword that, or get the attorneys to reword that to say that the Putnam County School District relinquishes any and all claims to the property, we don't have to say marketable title. I mean, that's a technicality, we say just a quick claim, any and all claims. And then all of those conditions are levied by the city anyway.
Right.
So it comes back to the city.
Yeah, that was, because we used that standard FAR bar contract, and it has in there, the boxes about marketable title, I think we just got stuck with that as far as, and I think there might have been a little miscommunication with Lisa, the one that put the contract together for Charlie.
But that's an easy fix.
Yeah.
It is. I see it all being easy to fix.
Yeah.
And let me go back to catch up. I also spoke with the sheriff's department about the safety of the building, and they assured me too, that they daily were supervising it. So it was a concern of theirs. I also want to point out, I understand why perhaps two commissioners were a little uneasy on this, particularly the financials, because let's reflect back that recently there was a finance director that had to be, let go, because of his past. And also that they are just finishing up an audit that is late, that had over 80 items that were questionable. Compounded too, that recently there was a windfall that the city found out of, what, 350,000?
$318,560.
That was unexpected. Well, we all understand finances here among us.
How does that happen?
How do you not know that month by month?
Well,
Quite frankly,
it is something that, as we go through, at the end of the year, basically, you know, we don't get the numbers are they lag behind, unfortunately, because so once the fiscal year ends on September 30th, it does take a few months for us to get everything in and everything calculated, especially with our finance director still being new and still getting everything in order. It always takes you till about January to figure out where your last fiscal year ended up. And really what that $318,000 is as a fund balance is what was left over from last year. So where our expenses were below our revenue, you know, our expenses were below what was budgeted, our revenue was a little bit above what was budgeted. And so just like anything, you know, you end up at the end of the year, you got a little bit of money left over, which is great.
I think that, I understand that. However, in business, the large percentage of overages just doesn't occur.
Right.
And you might have a little, or a little under, but nothing like this. But your point is well taken. It's catching up.
Yeah.
And that seems to be happening now, which we're very grateful. But I just wanted to share with you my opinion. I can understand why two commissioners might be a little uneasy because of the past. And it wasn't only this year, but previous years.
Right.
So I'm sure in the future that at year end, there won't be these large amounts of found money or,
Well, I mean,
there shouldn't be.
but it is normal to have a fund balance and to have that happen. It's happened here almost every year. They don't always take it and rebudget it like they should. That's why we had that $300,000. It's because they haven't been keeping up with the financing.
That they haven't been keeping
Right.
up with it, but like, it may be normal in recent years for this city. It is not normal for other cities, for government agencies,
It's not always, yeah.
and it rarely is. And it definitely isn't in a business. If it is in a business, they soon will be out of business.
Well, what usually happens is a lot of cities during the year, as you go along, you do budget amendments. I know that like the city of Sunrise does a budget amendment every single month because as things change throughout the year, they amend it. We don't usually do a mid-year or except for to catch up that end of the last year and get that fund balance in there. So,
Again, let me speak to that as being a town treasurer for 10 years, as an elected official. We never adjusted our budget, and in good budgeting, you don't need to. And in fact, it's better to show where you're over and under, so when you are budgeting in the future, you know where you need to put more concentration in and getting a true number.
I understand that.
So anyways, enough said on that.
I'm gonna take your argument and go a little further. After what I witnessed last night, I have serious misgivings about the ability of the city to handle the project that we're proposing. I don't know how else to say it. We've gone, I think, over and above the expected goals of this committee in putting together a broad concept and a mission with a plan to make it work and handed it to the city for free. Okay. And we've had it tossed back at us with another 4 months to work on it. basically with our hands tied in terms of negotiation. To make another presentation sometime in the future, we'll adjust the wording and make it low impact and all of that. But at the end of the day, we're still handling a large, complicated project to a small, inexperienced city. And I want to say at this point, I am not confident that they can handle it.
Well, I thank you for, giving us your thoughts. And I think it's important for us to reflect on the need for us to do a presentation where they can understand it.
Yes, we should do that at every council meeting. We should be there explaining where we are, where we're going.
And that we're here to do the work for them
Yes.
as
Well,
advisors.
That would be my follow-up.
Yes.
As
I
I-
tried to emphasize last night, we are the city. We're your arm, we're your task force. We're doing what you ask us to do.
Clearly, there's a trust issue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm gonna speak plainly. There's a trust issue. I think the future of this project depends on retaining some kind of a governing board with the confidence of the city behind it to run it for the city with financial acumen that we have available, with architectural expertise that we have available. Michael Frank is just one of several accomplished professionals who said on the record they're willing to work for free to get this thing off the ground. I don't know. I've never seen any group look the gift horse in the mouth so bluntly as I saw last night. The truth is we're never gonna get the last dollar accounted for. There's always gonna be room for some kind of innovation, for some kind of enterprise to fill the gap, and we have to expect that. It goes to the issue of good faith. So I think the future of the Blue Ribbon Committee may be, again, we have to have the full faith of the city commission behind it, which at this point I think is a long shot, to run the thing for the city, or instead of, I don't know. I'm not entirely put off by the suggestion of Commissioner Burton to establish a private foundation for the purpose.
And the only problem with that argument is the school district is not going to give the property to a nonprofit. They've done that, and they've gotten burned, and they've gotten in trouble with the office of the inspector general. They're not supposed to be giving property away to 501c3s or whatever, because they can do it to local governments, to other governments, because of their state law that protects us and suggests that to happen. But giving it to anyone besides the local government or another government entity is pretty frowned upon, and especially in Putnam County.
And that is I'm glad you brought that up. This is a very important point. So for acquiring it blows it out of the water. It's not a consideration. However, once the city owns it, there's nothing stopping the city by establishing a portion of it as being a nonprofit.
Right, and I think that idea is a good idea, to have a 501c3 or something established that would help manage it, and the city can still own it.
It's a great possibility
Right.
to explore, as other partnerships are.
Yes.
I mean, let's face it, the city's operating expenses basically will be one building,
Yes.
Will be what?
one building.
Yeah.
And the rest of the compound can be partnerships.
Right.
And we heard last night how excited partnerships are. I mean, the Plum Players, for instance.
If you put it in that terms, the one building that the city would occupy is probably a wash at their expense. Now that covers all of it.
And then when you think of the gain of the sale of real estate, where we're sitting now, the building next to us, it is certainly a wash.
Mhm.
So, we understand that, but
We have to get them to understand.
we have to get, the full commission to understand it and the public.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about, with a business plan that we can present that makes sense. We need to start working on that.
We do, and we need to fill our audience on our meetings to get a good exchange in ideas.
Yes, I think it's really important that we educate the public. And we,
I think it's more important that we educate the commission.
well, we have to do that too, yes.
Well, that's our principal responsibility.
That's our
Yeah, but
number one.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
I agree with that.
I thought it was, one thing that was said last night that kind of annoyed me, but that I thought was really telling was the mayor pointing out that we're the ones, speaking of the commission and herself, the ones that have to make it all work, as if it's up to her and us to make decisions for the taxpayers. And I didn't like that, because she was kind of saying, well, we know better. And it's our job, we're not listening to you. And, I mean, I think it was very telling, like, what says, again, when she asked, I think she was hoping that there was only gonna be a few people here that lived in Crescent City, and obviously the entire place was full. And so, I think that, I mean, I've never seen that much of a interest and outpouring of information, of support, and ever seen someone turn that down in person. I don't know. But I think that goes back to the fact that we just need to educate and try and get word out. But if we can put it on paper, give them some more give them some more firm numbers, and we'll just go at it again. I think we can push this through, but yeah, all those things that you said, there's a trust issue. I don't know why it's us versus them. Me being both, I don't know. I don't know why that is what seemed to come up. We had that whole report, we did all that for them to know and learn, and for the public. And it's gonna still be out there. It's on the website for the city, and it's on the FBHS website so people can read it. And we just need to now hone in maybe on those operational costs, because to me, it just seems like it's doable. It's really doable. In fact, we have to do it. I think it would be it would be stupid not to do it. So we just have to make it that point and make it more evident. So Dan, if you can get more numbers from the finance, I'm gonna see if I can reach out to the CFO for the school district and ask them for some more numbers, because what we had was really kind of, I don't know, spotty there at times. So I know that was stuff that Charles had asked for and put together in the spreadsheet. That's what we had, but I would like some more detail on some of those.
There was a piece on WJXT yesterday about a school in Jacksonville area that was converted to a community center. And they received $2 million for its rehab. I mean, and that happened like now.
Yeah.
So it can happen, and we can make it happen. We can help it happen.
Do you think Brad Purcell would be willing to come talk to us at the BRC here?
Pardon?
Could you contact Brad Purcell and see if he would come and talk to us here at the BRC and maybe give us some ideas on next steps to help us?
I could talk to him about that.
Okay, because I think, he might be able to give us a little bit of motivation, a little bit of direction on which ways to be going with grants. And so we can start researching that.
Yes.
One of the wonderful things that we have going for us is that school conversions have happened all around us.
Yeah.
And throughout the state. And they've become very attractive and very successful, especially for the economics of the community
Mhm.
in bringing in additional revenue for the businesses.
Yes.
And attracting people to them. I'd also like to remind us that we've been in existence since June, that's 9 months, not 6. Our report has just been released, and it's gonna take time for people to educate themselves whether to read it. I mean, over 260 pages.
Yeah.
So as people are knowledgeable about it, I'm sure that goodwill will spread among our community.
It's true.
Yes.
So, I mean, I went home last night feeling like I was defeated, that we were defeated, or that it was, not a great meeting, but I think we still, we didn't lose. We didn't win, but we didn't lose.
So the
So,
other thing was that we found out what we need to do, what the concern was. And it was basically one concern, financial.
Yes.
And we sit here with all this knowledge that we've collected, and we just need to share it with them.
Perhaps that wasn't explained succinctly enough last night, but we know our marching orders.
Yeah.
We need to explain that. Get it in a,
And the other is just a matter of relabeling.
Yeah.
Agreement, contract,
yeah,
clear of intent.
when you get down to it, they're all the same.
Yeah.
And then maybe a little more language into the agreement, that would make them more comfortable.
What is the final relationship established now between Charlie Douglas and the city?
He will be, I guess, putting together a contract for the commission on the 13th to approve, so that he will be he'll basically be the representation for the city
So-
in this matter. So he'll be representing the BRC and the city commission, basically.
But he is, as I understood from body language and so on last night, he is going to begin to work on some kind of an hourly retainer for the city,
Yes,
based on the assumption that the city and the BRC are not conflicted
right.
in this.
so,
And his pro bono days
It's-
for
it's
us
that-
are,
yeah, I think his pro bono days are over.
Yeah. But we need
So we really
representation.
can't do any negotiating until he is appointed,
Right,
and that'll be on the 13th.
because then also, the school board has to find representation as well, because Don Holmes is conflicted. And he can't represent either of us.
although both of them are paying him, he can't work for either.
Right.
So in a nutshell, he's a clever guy. The city is paying him not to represent them, and so is the school board.
But, only on this issue. So, I mean, it's still our attorney on other things. So, I mean, it's, once Charlie is, once they approve his contract, which I can't wait till they see his hourly rate.
Let me bring up a question that I had. So we heard last night that the scheduled meeting with the school board, a workshop, was delayed because of the attorney issue. I was disappointed with that because I thought we still could have had the opportunity to present facts.
Yeah.
To introduce the idea, not to negotiate or suggest, but to present the facts.
And I think the thing was that Mr. Bowling was not comfortable with there not being representation at that meeting. I don't know why, when it would just be a workshop and they were just giving information, but,
Exactly my point.
He wanted more time to break it to the school board.
which is, I mean, they have their binders, right? You had,
We took the binders, I took 7 of them.
so they,
One of them would be for Mr. Holmes, I assume.
so they have the binders. whenever we get the representation issue straightened out, then I guess we can have a workshop scheduled. And I don't know, I mean, we were hoping Charlie would do that workshop, I guess maybe we need to.
Well, it will give us time for some of us to talk to some of the board members. And I think that's really.
I think it's a good thing, for
Yeah.
that reason also, because,
I'm looking at the positive side of it.
Yes,
It does give us time to get things in order. And
and it gives the school board, time to prepare, so they can't claim surprise.
Right.
They'll be prepared to review it when the time.
so I mean, I think as soon as we resolve the representation issue, we can get that rescheduled. Because I mean, that's a big part of it, is we need to get the school board informed and up to speed, I guess. And then, I guess once Charlie is appointed, we can ask him to do a letter of intent or something, or the commission can, someone, and then to get the commission to approve it so that we can present it to the school district. So we've just added extra steps now, which we were kind of hoping to avoid because it's just gonna drag things out longer. But that's just what's gonna happen because governments take a long time. I just worry because every day something's not going on with the school, it's just, decaying. But it's not up to me, so all we can do is keep going on the steps that we have.
Using your position on the commission, you'll be able to affect the changes in this supposed contract, which will now be a memorandum of understanding.
Yeah, I hope so, yes. I will do my best. I sometimes last night I didn't know what to say because I didn't want to be rude to my fellow commissioners.
Well, it was good to hear their thoughts.
Yeah.
We gathered information and now we know how to go forward because we're enriched with that information.
well, their concerns, I understand. And I don't think it was with animosity. I think they were doing it with sincere concerns. And we need to move forward with that in mind. I think we have a good commission, and I really do.
Well, yeah, they're trying to protect the taxpayers. They're trying to protect, and they unknown. And we just have to make the unknown known, and I think we would be a lot more comfortable with it.
And continue to state, which we always have, that we don't want to put a financial burden on anyone.
Right.
And actually with this, there's no need to. It's obvious to us that it will be a huge financial success.
If Pearson can do it, we can do it. That's the bottom line.
And Seville.
Well, we're so much further ahead than them because it took them 4 or 5 years to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
The other point is that we're very willing to continue to work very hard to do this work,
Yes.
and to lessen the burden on the commission.
Well, and it not only lessens the burden, but it really is hard for the commission to do these things. I mean, because I don't know,
Excuse me.
it's harder for them to get together and to make a decision, first of all. And secondly, we're focusing on this one issue, whereas the commission has to worry about everything. Although I have to worry about this and all of that, but, the commission has certain things that it just has to, it keeps us busy. I don't know, I've never worked so hard for, a part-time job in my life. And when I was a commissioner in 2003, it was not that hard. It was not that hard then.
Well, we have to bring
I
out
also could walk then.
the reimbursement you get for it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The school district is the largest employer in the county.
Yes.
So they have a tremendous budget. And then on top of that, taxpayers of the county decided to give them a
Yeah,
$300 million gift,
yeah.
That we're paying for 36
which
years.
created a bunch of new schools, which creates a bunch of closed schools.
Mhm.
And the district, they have to deal with those closed schools. And finding someone to take one is a gift to them. So, and they know that. And we just need to move forward and help make that happen and do it in a true partnership agreement, which will be created between the city and the district. And they'll look out after each other. That's the bottom line.
And I'm glad that Mr. Bowling made the point last night that, you know, his taxpayers are our taxpayers. I made that point, I think, at the meeting that we had with him. It's like, you know, this is not a school board thing that they own this and the city owns it, you know, we all work for the taxpayers. It belongs to the taxpayers. The school does, and the school will still, if the city is the one responsible for it. The taxpayers are who owns all of this. And we're just making decisions on their behalf. And we need to make the best decisions. And for me, I feel like the best decision is that the school needs to be under our control, because we can redevelop it and we can focus on that, and that can benefit the whole city and the whole county, the whole area around us. As Mr. Bowling pointed out last night, they're not in the real estate business, and they're not in the developing a cultural center business. For them, it's just a piece of property that is costing money. For us, it's an opportunity. So we just have to make that opportunity happen, because if not, we're gonna.
And the school district understands the limitations financially that the city has. They may not want to, but they're gonna need to support us until we get it, till the city gets it in a position they can handle it.
And hopefully we can do it before Middleton Burning closes. Because then we'll have two schools sitting here. But one school at a time.
Yes.
Well, and Ron's comments on what could be done with the elementary school, I thought were excellent.
What was that? What are we talking about?
Before,
Judy's ideas. Oh, you were here.
Turning in the elementary school into an assisted living facility.
Yeah,
Of course, that's not something the city would do.
yeah, school did, let's
Say
look.
that
But
again.
it is set up.
The elementary program for assisted living.
Yeah, true. You have the different rooms you can put down.
Certainly a possibility.
Ron says that the layout is ideal for it.
And it's something that I'm sure that there's a need for it in our community. That's great,
There isn't now, there will be.
right?
by the time this committee is done, we'll be
Yeah.
ready to move in.
Me too.
We will be. If they make us come forward and shake the
Well, I'm at the right age, I'm ready, so far, I'm still vitally, at least my mind's still intact.
So reflecting on last night, the audience, I estimated there were in excess of 50 people here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I was very proud of that. I was very happy about that.
yeah.
That was very encouraging.
And there were some, there were over, I checked, I think this morning early, that there were 70 plus that watched it on
Oh, really?
YouTube.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Well, that's a record, because usually it has about 18 views or something, or other meetings too, so. I mean, there's obviously a groundswell of support in the community. We need to just make sure that we keep that going and keep people informed.
The excitement of those that were here,
Yes,
for us to hear about was very important.
yes, it was.
And the variety of people that we had here,
Yes,
giving their opinion, it really represented the whole community.
yes,
It did.
yes.
And they will go out and share our goodwill with their friends.
And, everybody that I've talked to, that I've gotten to sit down and explain the realities of the project, I think it's a wonderful idea. and really, and, you know, it's hard to do one person at a time, but I'm trying, we can all do that, because some people just need to see it. And I mean, just like that young man that was here, I say young, I don't know if he was younger than I was, that owns the gym out of town, he had just found out about it and came here to support it. I'm like, so if he just found out about it, and Dr. Grossman just found out about it, because we saw him on Monday night, I mean, so there's still a lot of people that need to know, and we need to try and keep spreading the word, because.
Yeah, I told Daniel the day before.
I think that's really,
So we just need to keep plugging on, and on that note, do we want to set a date for our next meeting in like 2 weeks or something?
you know, within the Rotary Club, I stood up and asked them, how many of you know what the Blue Ribbon Committee is? And not everybody did. I mean,
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
Except for the three of us who are on the room.
Right?
That would push us to the 11th.
Need to toot our own horn.
That's the week of the commission meeting, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we can meet that morning, I'm okay with that.
Is that Tuesday?
So Tuesday, the 11th of March,
Is that what we want? Yeah, that's fine.
is that good for everyone?
That's,
Say it again.
Tuesday, the 11th of March.
Okay.
I'm good.
9 o'clock.
Yes.
All right, you got that on there for 'em.
I'm glad that everyone, feels like we can keep moving. I was afraid this morning no one was gonna be here.
Well, I was enthused because creating these financials is pretty straightforward. And of course, I was sitting next to Rick last night. He's exceptionally excited.
No, it was
He
very,
can see the
He
possibilities.
was very helpful.
And because he's done so many of them. And he also said funding is available
right? And
with the grants.
he,
Yeah,
he
he can
knows.
help us.
And he would not, sitting on that board.
Yes.
And, John, what's the other person, another person that sits on the board is John Browning. It's John Browning, so that's his name, yeah, that lives here in Putnam County. And, so that's 2 out of 7 that live, that know us and know the area at least. So that's really great for odds. We just have to make sure that we need to find out, and Mr. Chairman, you might be the right person to ask Rick about getting some guidance on how to best put that narrative together for the grant.
Will do, thank you. And of course, Paul Weaver.
Paul was very, Paul was very enthusiastic as well, so.
And he's excited to help us.
And he really does have a lot of, I went and did a Google search on him, and he has names on reports going all the way through, all kinds of, National Register nominations in historic districts, in St. Augustine and Stewart, and, all over the state. His name pops up at all kinds of places. He's got a lot of experience.
And he and Rick know each other well.
It's kind of a small, it's not a very large world when you deal with, historic architecture. They kind of all know each other. But then, we have 2 of the best, I think, involved, so that's a positive, a huge positive. So,
Okay, anything else on the general conversation? Anything else on the agenda? Is there a motion to?
Adjourn, I so moved.
Second.
Thank you all, we are adjourned.
and, I'll send you this, the emails right now. I'll just